Welcome back to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
We welcome you back to Talk of the Town for this Wednesday, March 24th. I'm Gary Stevens. Without much further ado, because we are running short on time.
Gary, is there an echo?
It's time now for Clerk's Corner with Allegan County Clerk and Register of Deeds and noted hockey fan Bob Genetski. He's on the other end of our Zoom connection this morning. Bob, good morning. I hope all is well with you. I know that things are busy at the office right now.
Good morning, Gary. Things are exceptionally busy as we prepare for a May election with a lot of municipalities throughout Allegan County that are gearing up for those May proposals. And we are preparing to train new election workers for those. And then we, as you are aware, just recently put to bed the report of the annual report to the county commissioners last week. And obviously we have a lot more inquiries on the services that we're providing at the office. And as you're aware, we are back doing in-person jury trials at 113 Chestnut Street. So things are happening at the courthouse.
It certainly is. We'll talk a little bit about that in a few moments. We always like to talk a little hockey with Bob Genetski. He's a hockey fan. He still plays, still young enough to play, which is nice. But I need to talk about an incident last night during the Red Wings game against the Nashville Predators.
What was that ref thinking?
Well, let me give the listeners the story, since we were carrying high school basketball last night and didn't carry a game. During the game, the official, whose name is Tim Peel, could be heard saying that they wanted to purposely call a penalty against the Predators. The comment was caught on a live mic during the television broadcast before being cut off by the audio engineer. We got word from, I think Colin Campbell is the former Colin Campbell that used to play for the Red Wings. He's the man who basically is the enforcement guy for the NHL, said that Peel will not be involved in contests now or in the future, saying that his actions were a direct contradiction to the integrity of the game and no justification for his comments. Your thoughts, Bob?
No place for that in the NHL, the NFL, the NBA, or even high school sports. You can't have an official ever thinking ahead that he or she wants to get somebody or get a team. It wrecks the purity of the game. It wrecks the consistency of the game, and it will affect people's belief that sports are not fixed. And we want, particularly during these crazy COVID times, Gary, people need their distractions. Even if the Red Wings are in eighth place, even if the number one scorer for the Red Wings is a defenseman in the top, out of the top four scorers, four of them are negative in their plus minus, we still need to believe that our sports are pure and good.
One concern I've mentioned before, and then we'll talk about some of the voting situations, is the fact in this state, we opened up to the sports betting books at the end of January. The proliferation of the apps with Fox Bet, William Hill from England is now involved. We're just being swamped by them. I'm afraid that the proliferation of sports betting might lead to some scandals where we kind of wonder whether or not the officials are on the up and up.
Yeah, harkens back to the movie 8 Men Out with the story of shoeless Joe Jackson and the 1919 Black Sox, which led to the current commissioner format in the Major League Baseball. And the more money gets involved, the more concerns we're all going to have. And that's why they got to deal with this referee in a swift and harsh manner and purge any aspect of sports impropriety from the games.
He is Bob Genetski, the Allegan County Clerk, Register of Deeds. We like talking a little hockey with him. And in this situation, we do have a news story in that regard. But if you have a question about Allegan County elections or maybe taking care of deeds or some veterans notes, Bob will be happy to do that at 395-1450. Good morning. On the line with County Clerk Bob Genetski.
Well, good morning, Gary. Thank you very much for taking my call. Good morning, Mr. Genetski.
Good morning. It's great to be back on Talk of the Town.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. The comment regarding how we need to see our sports as pure and believable kind of segues right into what I'm a little concerned with. I've been listening to, before I go any further, thank you for your public service, first as a teacher and then as a legislator and now as clerk. My questions concern a couple of news reports I've heard lately. One was about the upcoming May election, where the reporter said the election in a particular county, I don't recall which one, would be hand counted. And the reporter followed it up by saying hand counting is against the law in Michigan. And I thought to myself, that doesn't quite seem believable to me. I don't know that I accept that. In the second news report I heard, a reporter referred to the previous election as being audited several times, multiple times, I think was the phrase she used. And I thought to myself, an audit doesn't necessarily mean a thorough investigation. Some audits, if I'm not mistaken, consist simply of recounting the ballots that were cast, whether or not the ballots were legitimate. And I'm wondering if you could please comment on both those circumstances.
All right, we'll let you hear the comments off the air. Thank you very much for the call, Bob.
Okay, there's a lot there, so I want to make sure I hit it all. I believe there are 3 or 4 points. The first one, the county that is going to be hand counted this time around is Antrim County. I think it's a great idea. I think it's an absolutely great idea to do a hand count whenever possible. In Allegan County, in our training, one of our best practices is for local election officials on election night, after they've received their totals, is to do a hand count in the precinct. And then, as you're aware, sometimes when the Board of Canvassers has questions, they will bring in a jurisdiction with their ballots, and they'll have a hand count performed after election night. So within the next couple of days after the election, to make sure that that they feel that those results posted on election night are accurate versus the hand count. So I can't speak for every board of canvassers in the state, but I know that in Allegan County, our board of canvassers, comprised of 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans, that does a great job. They believe that the hand count is the gold standard and trumps the machines whenever possible. Relative to the reporter saying that the hand count is illegal, I don't know where that's coming from. I can't even speak to that. And then the question.
The audit question.
The audit question. A couple of things going there. First, I appreciate the caller very much for asking about this, because following the November election, Allegan County did a complete and thorough audit of 3 randomly chosen jurisdictions and their absentee voter counting boards in Allegan County. So we had the election in November. Within the next couple of weeks, my team and I went to those local jurisdictions and we performed hand counts of the ballots for the presidential and for the U.S. Senate races. We found that in 2 of the 3 jurisdictions, for both the regular precinct and for the absentee voter counting boards, the count came out on the nose, the same as election night. In one of the other cases, we found that it was 2 ballots off. So in my mind, completely in those 3 jurisdictions rules out fraud. I think, however, the caller was also referring to the risk limiting audit that has been touted quite a bit by Lansing. I wish that someone would have talked to my local clerks on their thoughts of that and what that exactly proved, because personally I had no clue what it proved, but it did allow Lansing to send out an awful lot of press releases and pat themselves on the back quite a bit. My preference would be for more of our post-election audits, which are open to the public. We did have several members of the public this time, Gary, and it really made me happy that they came and got to see how the hand counts turned out, how they're performed, and how closely they resembled the election night results in Allegan County.
Let me follow up on one thing, and then we do need to take a break. maybe a good thing of what happened on November 3rd and all of what happened on November 3rd is that people, hopefully, as we move forward, not just in the presidential or the gubernatorial elections, but even ones such as the one coming up on May the 4th, May 4th. I was just doing my quick calendar thing.
That's good. That's good.
But on May 4th, they'll follow up as well. I hate to say it probably won't happen, but still, maybe that could be a good offshoot of what happened on November 3rd last year.
I think more and more jurisdictions are looking at election night procedures. And as I said, in Allegan County, it's considered a best practice. We have several jurisdictions that regardless of how anything turns out, they perform a hand count in the precinct to confirm everything else. And I'm very proud of those jurisdictions.
Good morning. You're on the line with Bob Genetski.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Good morning, Mr. Genetski. Thank you for your public service. I got a question about fake IDs. Years ago, when David Eason was a state representative in Granville, we told him about a machine on 28th Street in Wyoming. The man was making phony IDs and so forth, and he could make any ID possible. We could have had a guy named Robert Genetski from Southern Michigan ID. Could you talk about phony IDs and how people are coming to Michigan with phony IDs? Thank you.
Appreciate the call, Bob.
Gosh, I just don't know anything about it. I apologize. Seems like definitely an issue for the state police or the Secretary of State. We don't issue any out of the county clerk's office. We issue documents that lead to a state ID. We issue, we take applications for U.S. passports on the Register of Deeds side, and we do issue birth records, but we are not in a position to either issue or police any sort of IDs. I know that if someone is seeing a lot of situations like this, that they definitely want to contact the police and the Secretary of State. Both those entities are going to be overseeing any sort of state ID situation, but we definitely want to crack down on that because we don't want anybody voting illegally.
Good morning. You're on the line with I always want to say state representatives because he served for 3 terms. Allegan County Clerk Bob Genetski.
Hey, hi, Bob. Hey, I'm reading a headline here. Michigan court, Michigan Secretary of State's absentee ballot order broke law, vindicating Trump claim. And it says a Michigan judge ruled last week Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson broke state law when she unilaterally issued rules related to absentee balloting, legitimizing a key claim made by the Trump campaign and its legal challenges to the 2020 election. I'm wondering if you could maybe discuss and expound a little bit on this Genetski versus Benson, number 20-216-MM in the Court of Claims for the state of Michigan.
I appreciate the call, Bob. I don't know whether or not how much you can really comment on that.
Just prior to the election, the Secretary of State issued rules and guidelines for all of the clerks statewide and how they should look at the signatures on absentee ballots, as well as absentee ballot applications. Unfortunately, the secretary and her department in issuing those rules said basically if there are any redeeming qualities, you should accept this signature. Part of the problem there, though, is that the state Senate the state legislature and the governor had just signed into law Senate Bill 787 that basically said that if there's an issue with a signature, you should call the voter and find out what the issue is and see if we need to issue another AV ballot application or something like that. So it contradicted a law that had just been signed by the governor and passed in a hurry by the state legislature to accommodate the situation. So the guidance that she issued did not go through the proper rulemaking procedure, which would have been overseen by the legislature, and thereby the people and the clerks lost their opportunity to review the rule that she issued with the force of law.
One final thing, and we'll button up this segment. Obviously, May 4th is election time, and your office is getting ready for, basically a municipal / school bond election, I believe.
Yep, we were just looking at that this morning. Again, we've got some school bond issues and operating millages. You've got City of Holland Public Schools, as well as Holland Max Transit is going to be on that ballot in the City of Holland, as well as Laketown Precinct 1. In Fillmore Township, you've got an initiative from Zeeland Public Schools, and then over in Salem Township, you've got Zeeland Public Schools in Hudsonville. We've got something on the ballot for the City of Fenville to amend their charter. South Haven Public Schools has something coming up into the southern part of the county that'll appear on Casco Township's ballot. As well, you've got Allegan Public Schools with an initiative as well, which will cover most of the middle of the county as far as cities and townships.
It'll be a pretty important ballot that a lot of people will be wanting to vote on May the 4th. We're out of time on the segment, Bob. Appreciate your time, your thoughts on the election situation. There's a few other things we'll have to wait until the month of April to talk about with you. Bob, thank you very much for joining us today on Talk of the Town.
Gary, it's always fun to be back on the Talk of the Town, and sorry for the bad news on BJ Thomas, one of my favorites also.
Yeah. Good guy, a good Christian man as well. Bob, take care. We'll talk to you next week, next month. Bob Genetski on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.